to the Festival
of Storytellers.
I can't tell you how excited I am to be on right now. It's been a couple of weeks of excitement, getting prepared, and I've done a lot of things in my life, but this has got to be close to the top.
Thank you, and Reader's Magnet, and thank you, John, for putting this forth and taking the chance on us authors in presenting this out to the world.
I've enjoyed this immensely, Joanne.
Ellie, so have I. Thank you for who you are, and thank you, Reader's Magnet. You all are beautiful, and you've worked so very hard, and we are blessed.
We are.
I thank everybody that's involved with this process, because we know writers need readers and writers need publishers. We thank Reader's Magnet and everybody that's involved. I love Reader's Magnet. They say, we share your stories with the world.
Hello, this is Trinidad Rodriguez, Trinidad Rodriguez, and I'm from El Paso. And first of all, I would like to tell you how this book came to be. This is Trini, My Life of Poems. As a single mom, things happen, raising kids, emergency in the middle of the night, walking down the street, can't see my child. And so at the night when I'm worried and trying to process what happened today, how did I end up with my kid in the emergency room? The poems would come out, my feelings would come out, I'd get all upset, write the poem, and it would come out almost like perfect. My emotions were working on it. My emotions wrote the poems in this book. And there were times when I was so angry, then the emotions of anger and the poem would come out in Spanish, because emotions come out in your primary language. I'm a therapist, and so I've seen that happen. So that I thought this angry poem has come out in such a strong language that I was crazy. I thought, I'm being possessed. So that's how my poems came to be. Here in San Antonio, I am a therapist, have been here for 30 years. I go back and visit my sisters in El Paso. But again, I guess my inspiration was always being a therapist, because the poems were the first thing of processing whatever had happened for the day, however I was upset. So when I went to visit some important poets here in San Marcos, and they were saying, okay, give me a word, and I'll give you a poem in 2 seconds. I cannot get a word and write the poem, because my poems come out with all that emotion. Right now, I'm writing another book, and it's also like things that have happened to me, with God guiding me to being a therapist here in town. And I cannot give me a word, because I cried through all my stories that I'm writing, or I just laugh through all my stories that I'm writing. So there's an upcoming book coming up the next couple of months. I would like to read a couple of poems, some incident, and then explain how it came to be. My one of the things that came to me that I ended up in a divorce was just two kids that got married and they just wanted out of their family of origin. So forget the love story. I went out of my home. I went out of my family. I went to have my own life, and we end up getting married. And of course, life was tough, and two kids wanted to be on their own and doing their own thing. So I would like to read a poem that describes a girl in an argument with a man, a Hispanic man, and trying to calm down the situation or getting to it, whatever it was at that point in time. Sorry. Okay, this is the one that there's an argument going on and it's just not getting any better. And it's called Silent Words, and that's on my behalf of how I felt at that point in time. Fleeting words were uttered, softly as the rain, meticulously measured and carefully spoken out. Velvet words were cut and sewn to use as armor on the battleground. Words of reasoning and of gentle folk. Compassion was its very best. They fell on ears of rock and stone, splattered across the deafening wall. His eyes were blind, his ears were deaf, a marble statue at his very best. The pleading words were turned to shouts, in the rain into a storm. The only weapon left to use was rocks and stones. The battle can only last so long before the last man dies, but this one lasted 100 days or more. Can any sane man last 100 days? It took a crazy woman to make it through this one. The sun is out at last. The clouds are gone. The maiden fair looks out the door, doubting what her eyes do see. The long storm is at its end. The enemy is gone. The maiden looks around at her tattered clothes. She pinches and it hurts. Alive she well may be. The tears have frozen in her heart. The fear was very real. And that's a description of some of those arguments in a marriage where there's no love there. Again, it's 14 years of marriage, and then my kids are growing up, and I'm getting gray hair, which it's been a while. And so the next one is my reflected self. This is how I saw myself later. The men that put these points together, it was just a box of poems that had been written down on napkins, a piece of, it was just a box of pieces of paper that would have been thrown out when I died. And so then he put them together. My friend Jim Baker put all these things together. And the book turned out to be a big description of me and how I survived raising three kids. So this one is called How I Ended Up Surprising Myself, How I Saw Myself through my poems. and it's called My Reflected Self. I was walking down the street when I happened to by chance to meet this slightly familiar face. Somewhere in the crowd, I lost sight and track of her. It was funny. I thought we'd met. I looked across the street and again our eyes happened to set. Not bad looking, slightly gray, not bad figure, lovely face. Just by looking, I knew a lot, well educated and well brought up. Face to face, I saw some more. The years had given her wisdom and quite a load. Life had taught her what to take, a little love just for the road. Just behind her, I saw again 3 brown faces all aglow. Kiss your mother in a warm embrace. I turned around and I couldn't see her face. Reaching and stretching, I yearned to see who it was and who it could be. People moved and cleared the way. My reflected image, what could I say? I had turned out pretty well after raising the 3 kids. They taught me a lot. So I see my kids like almost like superheroes. They're tall like their father. And there was a funeral for my father that was 102 when he passed away a few years ago. And I look back and I'm waiting for my kids, and here they come with my imagination that this is how I see people. I saw my 3 superheroes. And so the next poem is how I see my kids. In a marriage where there's no love except for the kids, then the poem will talk about how I feel like I was just painted on a black and white canvas. And that's what it is. The question will be, there it was, the question. How did you ever raise those children to be so magnificent? How did these magnificent souls choose me as their mother? For they came after I existed, thus they chose me. They raised me to what I am now, not the other way around. I was looking and just existed, thus they gave meaning to my life. For my mere existence turned into a life. These magnificent creatures gave me life. When they turned on the color onto a black and white canvas, for I was painted on a wall without breath or meaning. I could imagine these magnificent creatures playing around the black and white canvas, adding color with their laughter, tears, and mirth. Here's the question. How did these magnificent creatures manage to recreate me? And I think after all these years, I'm still saying they raised me to what I am. Now I am creative, I can manage my own business as a therapist in San Marcos. I have all my family watching. I have 3 great, magnificent creatures. 2 girls have earned their masters, and my son has his bachelor's. I have 6 grandkids. No, 7 grandkids and 6 great grandkids. And right now, I am actually writing that 3rd book, because the 2nd one is a translation of the Trini, My Life of Poems. And I thought next Saturday at 11 o'clock, I'm going to be doing another tongue, and in Spanish. I'm totally bilingual. And here in San Marcos, we have very few bilingual therapists, and we have a population of Hispanic people from Mexico, Central America, South America. And so I'm full. My schedules are full all the time. Any questions? Okay. I'll read you another poem. So the other one is the waiting and waiting for another, well, for a love of my life. Because remember I said that the two kids that got married and had this magnificent children never felt love. So that again, I'm still looking for love of my life. And so there's this another poem. Love in the hand is just like sand. It goes through your fingers and to the ground. Love is like a breath of air. Squeeze it tight and it's gone. Love is giving, no demands. Never bought, a priceless gem. Love is faith of things to come. Love is light when you arrive. Again, writing my third book has a lot to do with God. His grace through time and space tells a lot of stories where I've met somebody 20, 30 years ago, and then I turn around and here it is. My having helped that person 20, 30 years ago has ended up with a good deed, another passing along in present time. There are all kinds of coincidences that are not coincidences. And that's what the third book is going to be about God has us on this journey. And we'll run into the cash register person that's there, and you have information. She'll give you something, information, you exchange information so that further down your journey, then that was something that you needed. It was almost like a missing part from where you're headed. And I have enough stories, having been in the business of therapist for, since 1989. And then I've been here 30 years. So it's 30 years of stories. And then the stories how I thought the name to my book was going to be like, God doesn't take no for an answer. You know, he knocks and knocks. This is where you're headed. The train is waiting, and he won't take no for an answer. But then I went on that he created me. He should know where I'm headed. So, but once in a while, I go back to some of my memories, and then here comes my grief out of the present book. Like a shadow trapped inside, I see myself rushing from room to room, looking for you, looking for your warmth, your eyes and your love, like a shadow banging onto walls and frantically searching for your love. And as a shadow looks for the person that it belongs to in order to exist, the search is frantic and finally futile. And as the realization comes that the person isn't there, the shadow runs into a corner and falls like ashes from a corpse, never to get up again. As I said, I still cry reading my own things because they're so full of emotion. And it's all common emotion that people out in the world feel, women a lot being in the business. There's lots of families just by single moms and the things that they go through. Again, trying to find or connect or complete their family because they're doing it on their own. But then we have to come back to God. I think when we can find the answers ourselves, and that's the reason that my third book is coming up along, just invite God in and you'll move on. Spoiled by the universe. I talk about being spoiled by the universe, God. He has always been alongside. I talk about being provided, the provider. I talk about getting to this point without a plan, my plan. Being guided by the Spirit. These thoughts I have always believed without a doubt. Being at the right place, doing what I love to be doing, belonging to the universe. My earthly doubts and complete picture of my life have also been undoubtedly strong. As a child, I felt neglected because I was the oldest of 6 girls. And so then again, their needs come first before mine. And then, of course, I came from a Hispanic family where I was way back. I was ready to write a book on machismo, and I was teaching at that point, and my principal said, "You need to find the positive side because machismo has positive and negative in it." And so that's what I'm waiting for. Maybe that'll be my next book. And then at the end, we all know where we're headed. And the journey has been very educational, very fulfilling. So this is at last. Come to the feast, my love, for the toil and sweat are done. The children grown and left the nest, our task already done. Come to the feast, my love, for now is now our own, to love and dance and sway away, to spend the time on us. The rocking chair is at a still, the creaking at its end. My love had fled away at dawn while I was sleeping still. I looked outside my windowsill. The dawn was coming up. My love was dancing outside my window, awaiting for me still. My hand reached up to grasp at his. I found my body floating up and drifting off to him. Behind we left our body shells, all worn and tired still. Reward for having done our test was dancing until dawn. See, I still get all worked up over my poems. I just can't write without emotion. Like I said, every story that's coming up with this third book has been written with tears because I can get over whether it's one of my clients that has gone through hell. And I have been alongside being honored and trying to help and promote some health, mental health. That's where I'm at. Thanks for the compliment. I'm trying to promote the book, and then I can get in my third book, just to get it out there, show some of those single moms, single people, single women. I think it's also good also for single men, older men. I'm there where I still get over emotional with my poems, but it's a survival thing. And that's what I do in my office. And I call my office God's work. God's the boss. If I schedule 2 people at the same time by some coincidence or neglect, God will have one of the two parties will call and cancel out. He handles the business part to it. So again, I will be on also like Tuesday at 9, Thursday at 10, and then I'll do the Spanish one next Saturday at 11 o'clock. Again, the book looks like this. This is Trini, My Life of Poems. And then Trini, Mi vida de poemas, with my early in life picture of me. Like I said, I'm just trying to help and get some counseling information out there. I totally believe that we're all connected through time and space. It's just almost just like if I it just connected it to one of my clients in the office where, you know, they're on alcohol, and then I say, you know, let's follow one of the steps for alcoholics, or for children of alcoholics, or for grandchildren of alcoholics, is, you know, letting it go, let the spirit guide you, do the best you can for people that you run into. Let me think. Maybe I'll give you, do I have time? Maybe I'll give you a story, but my car won't go home on the third book. I've been teaching all day or counseling, and then I did a parenting class for the parents. And so then at 8 o'clock, I'm ready to go home. My feet are hurting. And so I get in the car, and my car doesn't know how to go home. Instead of going home, I turn right, and it turns the other way, and it doesn't follow my instructions. And pretty soon I say, okay, God, you take over, but I'm still holding on to the wheel. And I end up at the mall at closing time. And there's a woman. I go through the whole 2 floors in El Paso of the mall. And at the end of the second floor, there's a woman that I recognize at the end of the hall. It's a friend from school. And she was contemplating suicide. So God knew that. He didn't let my car go home. My feet were still hurting. But I ended up working with her a couple of years afterwards. So God guides my stuff. He guides my stuff, and he schedules and sends me people to the office that need my services. Let's see. I keep looking at my notes and my books. Dustin, what else can I say? Some of my kids that I've known are in the audience. Daniel, I thank Daniel for my equine therapy a few years ago. My dream was to having the kids at the office go to my ranch, to the 10 acres I have close to Canyon Lake, and show them how to ride a horse. Well, I didn't know how to ride a horse, but we did that. Daniel and I did that for 10 years. Yeah. I remember the time when I bought a brand new, what was it, for the horse, not the saddle, and because I didn't know how to put it together. So I bought a new one because it's put together. And then Daniel comes in and takes it apart. Then we have to go back to Google and see how we get our horse together for the next child that's coming up. Um, let's see. My representative had said that I could give tips on how to calm down when we have panic attacks, when we have all that anxiety. And I've thought of some of those, but again, I don't want to give any information that's going to stop you from going to a professional. So that anything going on, anxiety, panic attacks, then find you a professional in the area to go to. I'm waiting for John. John?